today. I've got two special guests. One is my trusty sidekick, George Machock, All-American golfer at the University of Texas, National Championship of 1971. And also Mr. Dan Daly is with us today. And Dan is a writer and a handicapper on all things golf. He's very knowledgeable of the game of golf. And this is a show I've been wanting to do for a long time because we're going to talk about the changing landscape of professional golf. And I think these two guys can really weigh in on that. And Dan Daly,
yes,
welcome to Hit It Where They Mow.
Thank you. Excited to be. This is my first podcast. I've done the radio show a number of times, but excited to do the podcast. So looking forward to it.
It's been a while, but I'm sure we probably disagree on everything, which is fine. You're the younger generation, and I'm the dinosaur. And then we have Mr. Machock. George, welcome back to the show. Half Harvey Pinnock and half Willie Nelson.
Well, you might see both today. I don't know.
Well, we're going to let you play a song a little later in the show. But let's kick this off. I think when I talked to you on the phone, Dan, you mentioned the word disruptive. But the first thing we want to talk about is the changing landscape of pro golf. And you can't do that without talking about the LIV Tour or the LIV Tour. And we don't like to date our shows, but yesterday, Charles Howell won $4 million for winning an LIV event in Mexico. His team won $3 million, split four ways. So he had almost a $5 million payday. And no one was watching, and I couldn't even... I've been Googling and trying to get all the results and can't even get those. But just your thoughts about the LIV and how it's crazy money, but it's caused a lot of us versus them, et cetera.
It has. I was watching.
Oh, you were?
I was watching. If I had to choose between the Honda and LIV, now that it's on TV, granted, CW is not the most high profile station, but it was good. But again, he won $4.75 million. He played on tour for 20 plus years and he's won $33 million. His highest paycheck to date was $1.1 million. He won $4.75 million in one day. So to fault these guys for going over there, I understand the political background on that, and I to each their own. But as far as just the money goes, I mean, if you play golf for money, and a lot of these guys do, it's hard to argue with somebody that's going to go make $4.75 million in one day when they've made $33 million in a 20-year career.
Well, it's great to know. I think their market share was 0.002.
It was.
So you were one of the three people
I
watching.
was one of the three people watching. Yes.
But that's fantastic. Now, can you... I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to anyway.
Sure.
Tell us about how it played out. Who he edged out somebody, or just tell us how.
Well, I didn't watch it that closely.
Oh, you didn't.
I did. We had it on. We had it on a couple of TV. We had the Honda on. We had the LIV on, and it was fascinating to watch. What they're trying to do is kind of do it like NASCAR, where they've got the leaderboard going the full time on the left side of the screen with the team underneath it, and they kind of move you up. They show you who's hitting. It's pretty fascinating. They've got the team logo next to them. If I'm being honest, what I saw wasn't the greatest golf in the world, but it was, I haven't seen DeChambeau, I haven't seen Mickelson, I haven't seen Poulter and those guys on TV in a while. Cam Smith, those kind of guys. Charles Howell obviously won. I did see Gooch hit one of the worst snap hooks I've ever seen in my entire life on one hole, but it wasn't the best golf I've ever seen. But again, it's in his second year, and I'm not a LIV defender. I just it was better than the Honda as far as name recognition goes.
I think you're right. Although I really enjoyed the Honda yesterday because it was a riveting finish. The guy knocked it in the water and made bogey, and he still won the tournament. George, I know you may not follow the LIV Tour that much, but I'm sure you've got some comments about this.
Well, my perspective is that it's changed the game of golf to some degree. And I think that if you look at the PGA, even the USGA, the Tour, whatever, the USGA, golf is a very traditional game, very set in the old ways, et cetera. And that's fine because everybody needs that tradition. What LIV has done is it's broken some of those parts of golf, the tour golf, And it's made it a little bit better for the new guys and the older guys that just never really had huge careers. Like, Hal had a great career.
Sure.
But here he wins $4 million. I mean, how long would it take him on the tour to win that in 2 weeks? And I'm not being critical of either one. Liv has had an impact. That's my point. And it's had an impact on golf. I think that to some degree, it may improve golf over time. And that's not a bad thing. Now, the fighting it's created is understandable, and the animosity it's created is understandable. Will that change? I don't know, but they've done some changes to the PGA already tour that have helped more Korn Ferry players playing, and that's good.
Well, I think you alluded to it earlier before we came into the studio that they've kind of replicated that now on the tour with these elevated events, and so. Share about that because that's the result of it. Yeah.
They've basically, the PGA Tour is now just 3 different tours. You've got the elevated events, which is basically the Live Tour. You've got the higher prizes and the higher purses, and you're going to get the best field. And then you've got the secondary tournaments, which unfortunately for us locally, the Nelson and the Colonial are going to fall in that. Now you'll have Spieth and some of these Dallas guys that'll play in it, so you'll get some names. But the Honda and some of these other tournaments just, they're going to have, to George's point, it's not a bad thing to have guys that have been journeymen and younger guys like the Cootie brothers and that sort of thing have their opportunity. Now, they're not going to get paid as much if they win because the fields aren't as strong. And so Liv has created basically a PGA Tour elite version and then a second tier and then the Korn Ferry below it. So you've got 3 different tours within the PGA Tour now. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Time will tell. We're, 3 months into this new system. So it's hard to say whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, obviously the Genesis and the Waste Management, those were incredible fields. It was amazing to watch that many people that highly ranked in one tournament that wasn't a major. You used to not get that. They were spread out throughout the season. So it's your pick. Do you like having less events that are better, or do you like being able to turn on the TV and see guys like Rory play against some of these lesser fields on a regular basis?
That's very well said. You explained it for me. I guess the thing I'm concerned about is 42 years Honda sponsors this tournament. And they say adios, although the article we read said adios to February. So maybe Honda has a deal with the PGA at a different date. I don't know. But you've got some big sponsors that aren't particularly happy that they're not elevated.
And that's the risk you run, is you're not going to appease everybody. You can't have $3 million first place checks every week when, no offense to Chris Kirk, but when guys like Chris Kirk are coming down the stretch against 6 people on the leaderboard that I watch a lot of golf, as do the 2 of you.
Right.
And I would be willing to bet most people couldn't name or know who 8 of the top 10 guys were.
Yeah.
Couldn't give you a history of them. Couldn't tell you anything about them. And that's hard to bring in viewers. People like stories. People like names. They like backstories. A lot of these guys, to the diehards, have backstories, but to the average fan, they don't know who these people are.
Good point. But there were 2 good stories with Chris Kirk, in his sobriety. He talks about it. And then, of course, Bobby Cole and Laura Ball's son, who can play. We're going to see some more of him.
Yeah.
And so that's good. And then I want to tee this up with you, Dan, and I'm not through with the Live thing yet. We've got, like I say, this is Johnny Carson for an hour with no ads. Although I do have my sponsors, I need to make sure I talk about them. But and I will at this time, by the way. Niagara Conservation, it's a plumbing company. They're big with the LPGA. We're going to have a special LPGA show coming up soon. You want to avoid the water hazards on the course. You want to avoid the water hazards at home. So they're a manufacturer of low flow toilets. Dornick Hills, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your recent excursion to Kansas. It's Perry Maxwell's home course. It was his original farm in Ardmore, Oklahoma. Less than 90 minutes from here, you can get a non-resident membership there very inexpensively. I know a lot of guys that have memberships at some of the big clubs in Dallas are looking at having a second place. My home course in Tyler's that way, Willowbrook Country Club. But Dornick Hills is a great golf course. Go to their website. And then, of course, the Tempest Golf Club in Longview, longtime supporter of me, and I'm a big supporter of them. It's semi-private. You can join or you can pay a green fee. And then thank you, Malcolm Holland and Martin Thomas and the fine folks at Veritex Bank, the golf bank of Texas. And they're going to have a Corn Ferry event the week after the Masters. Statistics, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
George. I'm definitely not a statistics guy, but yesterday, Chris Kirk hadn't three-putted in about 3 tournaments. Are you kidding me? What stats grab you? Do you understand them, Dan? I don't really understand them all, like strokes gained, greens hit, strokes gained, fairways hit. Break us down on the stats a little bit. Help us.
Let's go back to Chris Kirk for a second.
Okay.
With a 1-shot lead on a par 5 and a water hazard, why did he hit a 3-wood? I don't understand that. That goes back to statistics, though, right?
Okay.
I'm sure that if they broke it down, the percentage of going for it, making par versus laying up to make par, a lot of these guys, I think, are a little too dependent on the statistics. But I also think they've helped a lot of guys. In the Full Swing Netflix series, I know the first episode, several Spieth and Justin Thomas alluded to several different strokes gained where they had seen where they're, it allows players to see their weaknesses. It allows players to see their strengths, what to work on, what not to work on, left rough avoidance, right rough avoidance, all that stuff. But I think most of it comes down to strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained, to the green, and then putting, chipping and putting. Mm-hmm. Obviously, those are the big ones that are going to affect the final results. Okay. I'm not a huge, I don't dive into it too much. But I think it's in certain tournaments, in certain players, I think it matters when you get into the majors. Again, I know you've alluded to a lot of what I do is the betting side of sports. Yes. And so for me, I'll look at those statistics going into a major specifically because most of these tournaments are played at the same course year in and year out. So you don't really have to look at the statistics as much as you do their previous finishes there, how a player plays a course, horses for courses, right? Mm-hmm. Tiger won Arnold Palmer and so many tournaments over and over and over again. And a lot of these, Scottie Scheffler just won back-to-back at
that's right,
at Phoenix. And so, but when it comes to majors, other than the Masters, you've got to look at a course and how it sets up, and then look at the players and how they play certain types of courses, scrambling, that sort of thing.
I love that, and we're going to pick winners toward the end of the show of the Masters and the other 4 majors. But I'll tell you right now, and this will be his first big eye roll of the show. Chris Kirk is going to play well at Augusta. He hits a high right to left ball, and he's an incredible approach putter. Now he may get. The moment may be too big for him. I really don't think so. He's been out there a while. But anyway, George.
Well, I agree with what Dan said.
Yeah.
There's another part to this, too, in the sense of where Kirk was. Leading the tournament, last hole, driver, 3-wood, there's the mental side of golf, too. How many times has he been in that position in his career? Mm-hmm. And how many times is he going to be in that position again in the future? Mm-hmm. So there's 2 ways to look at it. Play it safe, okay? Work for the maybe good birdie, or go ahead and do what Palmer did, what Tiger did. Go for it and learn how to go for it. You got to learn under pressure, the most intense pressure you can. You don't have that all the time. You may have every shot in the bag. You may be Ben Hogan, but you've got to put yourself in that position of pressure now and then. And it could have been that he just wanted, instead of doing it the right way, he just wanted to test himself. Because we've seen Tiger all the years that Tiger's played. Sure. He'll hit shots and say, why is he hitting that shot? And you and I have talked about this many times. I said, because he's testing himself. He's getting ready for the next one. And I think the mental aspect can be critical in those kind of situations.
He said later he was trying to hit it in the middle of the green. He pushed it. But you brought up Tiger. That's my second topic, because I think everyone was fascinated by his play at Riviera in the Genesis. He was hosting the tournament. Quite frankly, I was blown away by how well he was able to hit the ball with very little, comparatively speaking, very little lower body movement compared to his old swing.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's gotten big upstairs,
Mm-hmm.
but he hit the ball, I thought, but he was out hitting Justin Thomas. And Thomas is not a short hitter. He's not one of the
Right.
gorillas, but I think he can contend at Augusta if his body can just hold up. I'm not sure it can up and down those hills for 4 days, but you guys are Tiger apologists, if you will, or no, you're fans, and so I want to throw it over to you. George, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, I definitely.
You said it's cellular. I want everybody to know that. That was a comment I'll never forget. It's in his DNA. The guy is really
he knows what every
athlete.
cell in his body is doing. That's how perfect he is. Hogan would have loved him.
Yeah.
But I think that he still has a chance to win a major. I think he still has a chance to win a couple more regular, tour tournaments to set that record. Will he get to Nicklaus's record? Probably not. It's just we'll see. But we're going to know more. We're going to know more at the end of the summer because he's taken the time off to get himself, quote, as healed as he can to walk. And we know that when he was walking before, he would get exhausted on the 16th hole. And you can't do that. That's when you got to be the strongest. So he's got a whole 4 sets of, weeks to go through. We'll just have to see. I don't know that he would do it this year, but I would guarantee that within the next 3 years, he'll win a major.
Wow. One thing about that, before we throw it to Dan, is he did have the great third round. In other words, he was fatigued.
Yes.
He barely made the cut, and then he comes back.
Another one of Tiger's tests.
Yeah.
In other words, he didn't care so much about the first 2. Can he do good on movement day? And he did good on movement day.
Wow. Dan?
I'll give you a reason he can win all 4 majors. Do I think he'll win any of the 4? Probably not, if I'm being honest. I mean,
hear this.
Well, he said as much. He said the golf's not the problem. He said it's the walking that's the problem.
Right.
So if golf's not 180 mile an hour ball speed is unbelievable.
I couldn't believe that.
On half of a leg that you push off on is phenomenal. His chipping was good. His putting was okay. But if you go back to the 4 majors this year, I mean, you've got Augusta where he's obviously won multiple times. He knows the course as well as anybody in the world. So it's a second shot golf course. What is he the best in the world at? Second shots. Mm-hmm. So he's got a chance there just because it's Augusta. You go from there to the PGA, which is, I think an iron player is going to win it. Whoever plays the best with their irons that week, with one exception. If it rains.
Mm-hmm.
When they set it at Oak Hill, it was still being played in August.
Yeah.
Now they're moved it to April.
Right.
And they get a lot.
May. It could be wet.
It could be wet, and if it's wet, I think that's going to take him out of it.
Yeah.
If it's just normal, nice weather, and iron play is what's going to be, goes back to your stats thing. I think the best iron player is going to win that week. If it doesn't rain. If it rains, Rory's going to win because it's going to be a bomber's paradise.
Exactly.
I want to interrupt you real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I already know where the British Open is, and I think it sets up good for him. But you've done your homework on the LA Country Club, I guess.
That's the only one that I don't. I mean, being a California. I mean, he obviously plays well in California. He grew up there. I think that he's played LA Country Club. I couldn't tell you how many times. I have no idea, but I would guess quite a few times.
More than once. California dreaming.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I think he's going to be fine there, and it's a U.S. Open where, assuming it's, with Mike Davis gone, thank you, I think that they'll set it up like a U.S. Open's supposed to be set up, where par is a good score, and nobody makes par better than, I mean, he's made a career on that.
And Pat, Dan said the right thing, it's weather. I mean, you and I have talked about this for years. When he was hurt, when he's playing in the British Open, it was cold and windy, cold with his back, it just wasn't going to work. So if the weather falls right, he's in contention.
I mean, if you go back a couple of years ago when where was it that Koepka won where it rained so much in St. Louis? Bellerive.
Yeah.
If you remember, Tiger was hitting these shots out of the trees. He drove the ball all over the place. But because he had these soft, wet greens, he was able to hold the greens out of the rough with these spinny, shots. And so that kept him in that tournament, which otherwise he shouldn't have been in. If that's a dry tournament with firm greens, he wouldn't have been anywhere near the lead, in my opinion.
Right.
I want to add one more thing.
Yeah.
And then
we
we're
got
through.
plenty of time here.
Well, Tiger, imagine some other pro tour, let's say having a wreck, because that can happen to anybody, and then changing their swing completely like he did. How many guys could do that in the sense of the way he changed his swing? 180 miles per hour, and he's swinging totally different than he swung all his years in the tour.
Well, I was never, in awe of his swing changes before. I thought it was a lot of hype. But now, and maybe I'm getting smarter as I get older, but now I was blown away by it. The way he swings that golf club now, and how solid he's hitting the ball.
He's actually swinging it better and hitting it better than he's ever done it. But you know what's interesting? It gets back to that molecular level. Mm-hmm. He can do that. I don't think anybody, maybe Hogan could have done it, okay? Maybe Nicklaus could have done it, because Nicklaus was like that too.
Well,
but
speaking of your shades today, I happened to watch a documentary on George Newsom last night. Mm-hmm. And Crenshaw's quoted on there, best ball spiker I've ever seen, because I didn't get to watch Hogan,
Right.
And I would say Tiger now, at least I know it was just one tournament, but I watched a lot of that Riviera, and it was so impressive. Now we're setting up to where I think he's got a real good chance. Flat. Mm-hmm. He played it basically with irons before when he won it.
Yeah.
Liverpool. Of course, Rory won the other one there.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the winners at Oak Hill earlier. I know Trevino. I know Shawn Michael was kind of a one-time wonder, a one-hit wonder. And I'm sure there's others I can't think of right away because, I know they had the Ryder Cup there, and we got really beat badly there back in when Lanny was the captain. But anyway, Trevino, that would tell you it's a ball striker's course. Mm-hmm. But Royal Liverpool sets up for Tiger, I think. It
does, and again, that goes back to I think if I had to rank his chances, I would say the British Open is probably right. Again, the PGA is weather dependent in my opinion, but the British Open this year, Augusta and the PGA, I think he has it. I think he'll make the cut in all three of the four for sure. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be shocked if he made the cut in all four and contended in one.
Yeah.
And again, you never know. You get Tiger in contention.
Yeah. It just depends on that leg and foot.
I'm not going to bet against him.
Yeah. But I guarantee you he's got to be in pretty decent shape because Tiger wouldn't do something that he didn't feel like his body's not ready. He's just not. He did that early when he first hurt his back and had that one surgery. He came back way too soon. But I think now he's learned that lesson.
I see him adjusting an ankle brace on the right leg. Of course, the whole right leg was just really.
Well, nobody even knows what Hogan went through.
Right.
Oh man.
Right. Speaking of golf and gambling, now everybody can gamble, quote, legally. You see the ads, the Caesars, DraftKings. Can you give us kind of a primer on that, or how do you approach? You mentioned courses for horses, but just in general.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to the majors, obviously those are going to be the most bet on golf tournaments of the year. But with these elevated events, now you've got these fields that are major like, and so you've got a lot more action on those. But I think you have two different trains of thought. You can get, for example, I like Will Zalatoris at the PGA a lot this year. Him and Morikawa to me are your two favorites, assuming the weather. And you can get them, especially Zalatoris, at 25-1 right now. Some shops even 30-1, just because he's coming off the injury. Not a lot of people like him. So if you like somebody, if you can do the research and you like somebody early, bet them before their odds go one way or the other. If you think about Scottie Scheffler last year, now I don't know many people that would have taken him prior to his first win, but if you looked at Scottie Scheffler's odds going into the Masters in February versus by the time the Masters rolled around in April, you would have gotten much better odds on him. So if you like somebody, if there's somebody that you really want to bet on, early, do it because the odds are going to be better. And as the tournament comes and more action's put on somebody, it's going to lower their odds. I mean, Rahm's going to be your betting favorite right now. Rahm's your betting favorite in all 4 majors right now. So if you really think Rahm's going to win one, you may want to wait and let him cool down a little bit. But then he could get, if you go back to, and I'm not comparing Rahm to Tiger in 2000 by any stretch. He's playing great, but by the end of 2000, Tiger was even money to win a major championship. That's insane.
Yeah.
156 guys.
Yeah.
And you're even money to win a major championship. Yeah. When he played what would that have been, the 01 Masters, he was minus 120. You had to lay money that he would win a major championship. Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah.
Now he didn't win, or he won the 2001 Masters, obviously, but after that, it's just
shades of the old Calcutta tournaments.
Yeah.
We're looking at a winner of the Center Invitational 1970. As I like to say, you can't fake that.
Well, I needed the money.
Right. But when Ben played at Center, he had to win for the person that bought him in the Calcutta to make money. In other words, the breakdown was 40-20, 10-10, and then 4 5s.
Yeah.
Or how many 5s it takes to get to 100%. But the guy spent so much money on him, he had to win the tournament to make a profit. Right. And so you alluded to that. And so I don't know how about gambling, but I do know this. I like what he said. If you like somebody, go ahead and put a little something down before it gets too close. Yeah.
Well, if you're a scratch bettor, like in horsing, or the ponies, as they say, you'd go with Rahm and Scheffler. Mm-hmm. But if you think it from a other standpoint, and you look, for instance, like the PGA, you'll get your Tigers, you'll get your Jacks, you'll get your Garys, whatever. But it's typically in the PGA, it's somebody that's further back in the line of ascension. They're getting up there. So you got to look who's the next Rahm and Scheffler.
Mm-hmm. You made a good point. We talked earlier. You didn't like the fact that they moved the PGA over to May, and I mentioned to you. I thought it was good because they're going to have one out at Frisco, in about 5 years or something. Yeah, they can have them in Tulsa. They can have them in Texas. Right. But now, what is this about the 4th year that the PGA's been in May, or maybe the 3rd, 4th year?
I think it's the 3rd. This will be the 3rd year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's less of the guy coming out of the nowhere to win it than it used to be, for whatever reason. The guys are burned out in August or whatever, but Justin Thomas and Zalatoris last year, it was a fabulous finish. Yeah.
I understand why they've changed them to put them more compacted time frame when they're done. I preferred it the other way, but that's just me. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I did was just because it gave everybody a chance to recover, recoup, have some bad weeks before the next one. Now you've got it concentrated, so of course, a tour player is going to say, I want to play great every day, every year, but that isn't going to happen. Mm-hmm. All I'm saying is somebody's got to really, really be on top within that 4-month period to win 2 or 3,
George, I love you,
all right.
and we agree on most things. But I don't want to disagree with you here because I think what the PGA Tour did was smart. They made their season. If you think about sports, nobody cares about baseball, and basketball ends in June, hockey ends in June with the finals, and football starts again. And so they've made it to where you've got the players in March, you've got the Masters in April, you've got the PGA May, U.S. Open June, and British Open in July, and then you roll into August and September with the playoffs. And so you've made golf relevant at least 1 week a month from March until football starts.
No, you're absolutely right.
And that's what it comes down to. That's TV.
The logic and the reason for it's perfect. It really is. It makes sense. I'm just saying from my perspective, and if I was out on the tour, it would just be tough to play that 6 or 7 weeks in a row, really the greatest you can be. But if you're the greatest, you can do it.
Well, it's harder, but that's what makes it more fun, in my opinion. I mean, it's more as a viewer, as a player, sure, I'd rather have it spread out a little bit. But unless you get hot, and that was a lot of those guys.
Then you'd want it.
Yeah, then you want it as much as possible. I mean, you think John Rahm...
That is a great comment because the whole deal is, man, I'm playing so good. Don't stop them. Let's have it tomorrow.
You think John Rahm doesn't want all 4 majors in the next 5 weeks? You're crazy.
Right, that's right.
Speaking of John Rahm, and I want you to start thinking about tuning up over there. We'll have a little musical interlude here in a minute.
Sure.
That bleeder cut is not going to work at Augusta, is it?
I mean, his record there is getting better. I mean, when his first year there, he played well, and then he's gotten a little bit better and a little bit better. Justin Thomas is the same way. If you look at Justin Thomas's finish in the Masters, he's gone up a little bit each year. I think he finished, he finished 8th last year. I think guys at Augusta, I mean, except for Spieth, who just came out and was, Spieth. Everybody that's won it has improved to get there. And I think Rahm and JT fit that bill pretty perfectly as far as going into it. I mean, some point Rory's got to win it, right? I mean, so. You think?
You like to. Yeah, I see JT as being maybe a career Grand Slam guy because he's got the whole package. I mean, we'll see. I don't know why I lost my train of thought a little bit on that.
Well, when you said the bleeder cut, when you look at a lot of the players that have won there, Demerit won 3 of them. He was a fader. I mean, it's how Tiger right now. It's interesting, this shot. What is that they call the shot watch or that follows the ball?
How did we watch golf without that?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what.
Pro Tracer.
Yeah, the Tracer.
Pro Tracer.
How did we ever watch
it's
golf
so much better.
But watching Tiger and a number of them, you'll see these loops, and you're thinking, man, if he was on Muni, he'd be in the water, But they're playing it, and that's the point. And of course, Hogan went through that whole thing, being a drawer, then having to switch to a fade. It can be done, and I don't think that's a problem, even at Augusta. I think a fade can play Augusta pretty darn well.
Well, and you're brilliant for this segue. Did you want a final comment on that? Because he talked about Muni. I'm going to get back to Muni.
I know. We'll go to that. I agree with what George said. I think the tee balls at Augusta, you need to hit it right to left. But I think hitting into those greens, you can. What do they say? You can talk to a fade.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't forget, Dustin Johnson set the record for lowest. Now, granted, that was in the fall because of COVID, and so the course was totally different.
Right.
But I mean, Dustin Johnson has historically played well there as well, and he hits a fade exclusively.
Now, before we leave Augusta, and we'll come back to it for our prediction, but I used your comment the other day, and a very high up person in the world of golf concurred and agreed they're the most influential body in golf.
Oh, absolutely. It's not even close.
And so they're saying...
it's not even close.
Right. They're saying we want all the good players to be here for now. How do you see them managing this thing going forward? Right now, everybody's welcome that qualifies.
Well, again, I think Augusta doesn't want any unnecessary spotlight. And so I think... And again, I mean, those guys, they run their course in their tournament how they run their course in their tournament. And I think you have past champions in Reed, Mickelson, Dustin, John, all those guys that have gone on to live. You're going to tell them that when they won, you're allowed to come back for life. Oh, but now you're playing on live, you can't. But somebody like Sandy Lyle, who has no shot whatsoever of even making the cuts, allowed to play because he's a past champion. So where do you draw the line? And I think that once Augusta made their decision, everybody else fell in line.
Okay.
That tells you how powerful they are.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I'm glad that happened, actually.
Yeah. But now we can move over. We'll come back to Augusta, but now let's move over to Muni. And George, as I've said before, you're part Harvey Pinnock. And folks, Harvey Pinnock was the father of golf instruction in Texas, the Little Red Book. I don't know how many years he was the pro at Austin Country Club. But he was pro there about 35 or 40 years, and his son Tinsley was pro there about 25 or 30 or 40 years. And now Dale Morgan is the pro there, but I think Dale may be emeritus now. I'm not sure. I know he was given some award. But Muni is the public course, which is very convenient to downtown Austin. And the apple of my eye, my niece Kelsey got married in April last year of 22 in Austin, and we had our little golf outing there. And as you remember, I almost made a hole-in-one there with a 7-iron. But the whole ambiance of the day was great. It is a Muni.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful landmark there in Austin, and you've written a song
Yes.
about saving Muni. That's something that Ben Crenshaw is very involved with.
Yeah.
I was going to say Scotty Scheffler, but his agent
Scotty Sayers.
Scotty Sayers is very involved.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, and they
would you could speak to it and then play the song, but tell us about it.
yeah, they had a thing called Imagine Muni, and they've raised a lot of money to save Muni. Muni was the first municipal golf course in the South that allowed segregation, and that was one historical fact that's not always been known. But it was a Bob Rowe design, and architect and Tillinghast did a bunch of work on it too as well. So the idea is to save it for perpetuity. The University of Texas owns the land, got it from George Breckinridge, and they want to keep the land. Austin's been leasing it with the golf course for, I think 80, 90 years, maybe more. But they want to get it to where Austin owns it, and it looks like it can happen.
Slight little correction: they disallowed segregation. They integrated the course.
Excuse
it was the first
me.
one in the South.
I
Yes.
apologize.
Yes.
That's
well,
right.
No, that's fine. But
Yeah,
I just want to reiterate that. That's a good point.
I saw your face. I'm thinking, and I made an error. All right. Yeah, they were the first ones that was
you know
integrated.
what, George? Before you play that song, a little bit about George Machock that our listeners may not know about. Grew up in the world of golf. Your dad was a golf pro, and then he ended up keeping Willie's golf course. You know Willie Nelson. Just that you don't come by this by accident. So tell us a little bit about your dad and the Pedernales Golf Club and Willie and so forth.
My dad was a greenskeeper, and he was the greenskeeper at Oak Hills in 1948 when I was born. So I was living on a golf course when I was that age. He had, over the years, he had three golf ranges. One, he did the one at Breckenridge Park. I had that for a number of years. That's now a First Tee location. And he was greenskeeper at Randolph Air Force Base. He helped build Onion Creek in Austin. He was a good close friend of Jimmy Demerit's, and Dad did a lot of work with that. And he built a golf range in Austin called St. Edward's Driving Range. And basically, we moved to Austin when I was 13. I got on Muni, started playing with some people. One of them was Ben Crenshaw, and the other one was Tom Kite.
Pretty good company.
William Cromwell. We all grew up there playing golf against each other. We all four decided to go to UT, and then we won a national championship.
Awesome.
And Ben got us there.
Yeah.
So Ben's been very, very vocal in saving Muni, and the idea is that it's for the kids of the future, and the past is where you can see all the kids that have grown up there and what they've done.
I'll make one more remark to preface this. You won't see this on the Golf Channel, but you'll see it on Hit It Where They Mow, Mr. George Machock.
Jump out of bed, butter my bread, tie my tennies, grab my bike, ride on down to Muni's fairways while sprinklers spray a fine mist of rainbows around. There to walk in the steps that others have left, no matter your shoe sole. The rich and the tall, the large and the small, all equal where those steps are made. The beauty of Muni's cathedrals of green all can play. The beauty of Muni's life's lessons learned every day. The old and the young mix and have fun, getting lessons on golf and of life. And when the round's through, both gain something new, each learning side by side. Some seek their dreams on Muni's greens, others bend sport. And with this little ball, this made the world small, Muni gives us so much more. The beauty of cathedrals of green all can play. The beauty of munis, life's lessons learned every day. Now gather around where new friends are found, new old friends met through this game that gives all the guides for the fairways of life and why Muni's important to save. The beauty of Munis, cathedrals of green all can play. The beauty of Munis, life's lessons learned every day. Let's save Muni for tomorrow today.
All right. Fantastic. Beautiful.
Thank you.
This little ball has made the world small.
Yeah.
That's, hey.
Poetry.
I know it's hokey, but it's poetry. Well, it's not hokey. I know it sounds that way, but it's not. I mean, I love it. And by the way, I just want to mention, for Dan's edification, this man has never missed a fairway. He's never missed a fairway. I've played with him. He doesn't miss the middle of the fairway. But
Well,
that's beautiful, man.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and it's the Conservancy's now. It's their song.
Yeah.
They own it now, so it's theirs. And I think it'll even get better over the years.
Yes. And I have to say, I'm not a Texas guy. I mean, I'm a Texas born and bred person. Right. It's the state U.
Sure.
I support it for that reason. But when I was down there, before I left town, I had to get a little coffee, drag Guadalupe, and I'm proud that we have a state U down there, and it's doing well.
Hey, it's like this, right?
Yeah.
There it is. Get your horns up, right?
Well, that gives us another segue. And
sure.
He was only number one this time for about 6 days, but man, how about Scotty Scheffler right now and carrying on the legacy of Tom Kite and Ben Crenshaw and Mark Brooks and Bob Estes.
Jordan Spieth.
Well, of course, Jordan. Yeah, we're going to get to Jordan, but just your comment on where we are. And by the way, another quote, I don't know if it's a casualty of the new tour, but this will be the last time they're going to have the match play, I think, at Austin Country Club.
The Dell. Yeah.
But anyway, what about Scotty? Dan, I'll let you start. Yeah.
I mean, first of all, let's go back real quick.
Yes.
I mean, a golfer a great golfer that can also play the guitar and sing. I mean, you're the next John Patrick Daly. I mean, it's just this is the name that comes to my mind when I think of golfers that can play the guitar.
I wish I could hit it that far.
Right?
Yeah, he should do something with Daly.
Sure. You and Daly need to do a duet. Get him in on the Austin Muni song. Listen, obviously, having gone to Texas and living in Dallas, I think Scotty Scheffler is great for the game of golf. I think he's great for the state of Texas. I think he's a good guy. Having a good. I think a lot of these guys. I've come around on Rahm. I think the PGA Tour right now is in a good spot as far as if you just look at the top 5-6 guys on the tour. I mean, Rory obviously is highly entertaining. But you're asking about Scotty. I think when he wins, I don't know many people that aren't happy about it. I think he's a good guy. He's a good golfer. He's fun to watch. So is Spieth. So are a lot of these guys. But I wouldn't shock me to see him win another major this year. He's going to be in contention.
He does seem to be in contention when the chips are out there.
He putts the ball and Dottie Pepper made a comment during one of the tournaments that Scotty's chipping really well. This is kind of unforeseen. I forgot what her quote was now, but I mean, he's one of the best scramblers in the world, chipping and putting. Yeah. And when you can chip and putt the ball, you can play any course in the world. Yeah. And so it's not going to shock me at all to see him in contention, and it's certainly not going to shock me to see him win a major this year.
Yeah, he's really good for golf, and on the heels of Jordan Spieth.
Can I interject something? Because you touched on that with the scrambler. Spieth, great scrambler, right? Mm-hmm. Hogan was a great scrambler. People were asking Hogan, why do you practice so much the chipping and putting when you're so good with the irons and drive? He said, because that's that one stroke that means so much. And I think growing up in Texas, that's one of the things that's unique about Texas golfers. They're always good scramblers because a lot of the courses here are not in perfect shape. A lot of them in the municipals, whatever, they're getting better, but you grow up here with a lot of wind, a lot of hard pan, a lot of shots that you don't normally have in Ohio or Minnesota. So you learn how to scramble, and you have to scramble.
Well, just go back to the waste
competition too.
Yeah.
Go back to the waste management. They're on the 16th hole. All three guys hit it low and left on 16. Which one got up and down? The guy that won the tournament. Scotty Scheffler got that ball up and down.
That was a huge.
It was a huge up and, but it was a great chip in that situation and an even better putt.
Center. If you're off the green in center, and they're like Coca-Cola tops.
Yeah.
You can't. It's like Pinehurst #2.
Yeah.
And they're smaller than Pinehurst. I mean,
I used to love Mr. Triggs. The greens were as grainy as barbed wire. but that's really good. Yeah. I wanted to share a story that David Price tells about Scotty. They're playing a junior tournament. The 18th hole there at Bit Tree has that water hazard right to the right of the green. Yeah. He's in the hazard, but he can hit it. And he comes up and he looks, he's like reading a putt and goes down there and knocks it in. He's a junior
knocks
golfer.
it in?
Yeah, but his point was he was trying to make it. And so he's been that good for that long. We got to talk about Spieth a little bit, though. He's kind of come back, and then, but he's still, you don't know what he's going to do. But he's fun to watch. I enjoy watching him.
But that's what makes him Jordan Spieth.
Yeah. Just be Jordan Spieth, right?
But I mean, that's what he's always done. Yeah. He's always been the guy that's either on fire or he's 6 over, and he's going to hit it all over the map, and he's going to get these crazy up and downs, and when he gets his putter going, he's the best putter in the world, and when he gets it going sideways, he looks like the worst. I mean, I've never seen anybody miss more 3-footers in my life that made 20-footers the 14 holes previous to it. So he's fun, and there's 2 courses I really like him this year. Obviously at Augusta, because I'm going to bet on him at Augusta at least in the top 10 until I'm proven otherwise. And then I like him at the British Open a lot this year. I think that's going to be. If you look, he's in his last 5 British Opens, he's missed the top 10 once, and that was a T20.
Yeah,
I don't think people realize how good his record is at the British Open. Now he has the 1 win.
It's a great point.
But he also lost the year he was going for the Spieth Slam. He had a putt on the 72nd hole as well.
That would have been a Bobby Jones slam. I mean, he'd won the first 2. I'll never forget that because remember it went to a Monday. They called it off, and I went down to the local neighborhood sports bar, and the place was packed at lunch, like you were watching a football game.
Right.
Yeah, but that
Jordan almost did it.
That was a missed short putt on 17, and then he didn't. He missed a playoff by 1 shot, and then he loses. He comes in second to Jason Day. But my point is at the British Open, his record, if you go back and look at it, is really impressive, and I think it kind of goes under the radar.
And one more little comment about the aura or the mystique of Jordan Spieth. I understand where he hit that tee ball on that 1 hole in Birkdale is now a must see. You've got to go and drop one where he played that from because it was so far right. But he won the tournament.
If he would do one thing, I think, and that is forget about the future, forget about the present, forget about the past. He was able to compete and be competitive because he wasn't thinking. Sometimes you get on the tour and you overthink because people say, oh, you got to adjust your swing. You got to do this. And over years and years and years of that, if you don't build up that wall and shut everything out, you're not going to make it. And he's still got a chance because he's young enough. But he's got the shots. He's got the ability to win. He's a great player. He's a good man. He just got to block that other stuff out and just go ahead and hit it.
Remember when Crenshaw went in the tank?
Yeah.
And he had to just the heck with it. I'm gonna be Ben Crenshaw.
Yeah.
And I think
that's the point.
Applicable to Jordan. Just play
exactly.
Your game, man.
Just be Jordan. There isn't one person out there that's the same as anybody else, and that's what's good about golf. Everything, every shot's unique. To every person. They think about everybody, there's 1,000 angles of one shot. wind, speed,
Yeah.
rain,
Yeah.
sun.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't think the same 10 items.
Mm-hmm.
They're all thinking something else.
Mm-hmm.
But like Nicholas said, I just focus on that shot, where it's going to go, and I see it in my mind, and that's it.
They did interview Nicholas, and he made a couple of comments. If I miss this putt, I'm still in it. In other words, how to take pressure off yourself.
Correct.
I thought that was really insightful.
Yeah.
You mentioned Will Zalatoris earlier. You think he may win at Oak Hills? Or Oak Hill, excuse me. It's Oak Hills in San Antonio, Oak Hill in Rochester.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me. I mean, think about it. He was in the playoff last year. Mito, oh boy, you were talking about earlier pressure shots.
Yeah.
You know, if you go back and watch Mito's tee ball on the 72nd hole, his swing got to about here and he stopped. I felt bad for the guy level Mito. He went to live. But I think Zalatoris, if you look at his record in the majors over the last 2 years, it's unbelievable. He's
He's a sleeper.
He used to be. I don't think he's a sleeper.
No, but I mean
anymore.
sleeper at being good.
Oh,
not
absolutely.
Bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But people expect him now. It wouldn't shock me to see him play well there. It wouldn't shock me to see him play well at the U.S. Open either.
How's Finau playing this year? Finau.
Finau?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a solid. He had a great fall. I think he won twice in the fall.
See, I always
He's a
like
little
him.
bit-
I always
he's a little
like him in
bit
the
neutral
majors.
right now. Yeah.
Finau he gets hot. He makes lots of birdies.
Right.
He'd be a great partner in the best
Yeah,
ball
yeah.
format. He's a great Ryder Cup player for
Yeah,
that reason.
Yeah.
He had that run at the Masters after he twisted his ankle when he made the hole-in-one in the par
Right.
3.
Wow, I remember that.
But
How he even
he's
played it.
I don't know. Adrenaline had to be, and other than that, I mean, he's a very, very good golfer, and when he gets hot, he can make a lot of birdies in a row. I don't know that bodes well for a U.S. Open type setup.
yeah.
Honestly, I think if he wanted, in my opinion, it'd have to be the Masters or somewhere where 13, 14 under is going to win as opposed to 2 or 3 under, 4 or 5 under. Although, do these guys shoot 4 or 5 under anymore for 4 days? I feel like there's not a golf course in the world that can keep them under 5 under for 4 days.
Are we ever going to play a par 72 major again? No, I'm
Well,
serious.
The Masters.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's besides that.
Probably.
Well, Pebble, I don't know, because they changed Pebble's 72 for the public, but they changed number 2 to a par 4 for the Open. Yeah, maybe.
Go ahead.
I wish we'd have 6.5, 6.4s, 6.3s, because that's 72, and you could really have some fun with a golf course that had 6 of each.
Yeah.
Short, long, whatever. Just make
We're
it
gonna
fun.
we're gonna have fun this year. Those are some good venues. I'm really interested in seeing Los Angeles Country Club. I think they had a Walker Cup there or something.
It's a beautiful track.
But well, let's go to that. We're about out of time here. Let's go to our picks. I'll kick it off for the Masters. I'm gonna go. This is so far out of the box, and just the way I'm feeling today. I'm gonna go with Chris Kirk. I think it's gonna be a big upset. He's gonna win that tournament because he's a great approach putter. He hits the high hook. He's got the monkey off his back. But I want Rory to win. I want Rory to get the Grand Slam. But I'll go to you, Dan, then let George have the final word. I know you I love your look. Yeah, I'm crazy. But it's
I
my
just
show.
want to know if you're willing to bet on that, because if you are, I'll book it for you. I'm happy to be the house on the Chris Kirk bet.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, we'll talk off the air.
Offset, yeah.
Look, as far as the Masters go, I think you have to look at either a Rory, a Rahm, or a Spieth. Scheffler obviously can repeat. My heart is with Rory this year. I'd love to see him win. I just think right now, if I had to bet on somebody that's going to win a major championship in the next 60 days, I'd have to pick Jon Rahm.
Yeah.
It's kind of a boring paper favorite pick, but he's favorite for a reason. Sometimes you just have to pick the favorite.
Yeah, he's definitely trending that way. George, I know we can't get your 6 par 3s in there.
No, that's right. I'm going to take Rahm, and I'm going to take Scheffler. I'm going to take Tiger for one, not for all 4. And I'm just doing all 4 at one time.
Okay.
And then my 4th person is going to be Morikawa.
Good pick.
He is a guy that I like to bet on because he comes through, and he's a great iron player, isn't he? Oh, he's got a whole package, but.
If I had a gun to my head for the PGA Championship, it would be between Morikawa and Zalatoris as far as the weather goes. If it's good, again, my pick's Rory if it's a rainy week.
Okay, let's go to the PGA. I know you had all 4 of them there.
Yeah.
But I would say Morikawa would be. I think Max Homa has a chance to win a major.
You talk about a guy that's been fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big. Everybody loved him for his Twitter and his social media stuff. But man, that guy can play golf.
Yeah.
Yes, he can.
He's good. He's real good. And you've got obviously Rahm, Rory, and Scheffler are kind of your 3 big ones right now. I don't know that I'd put Homa much past 4.
Exactly.
I want to mention one thing about Max Homa and Riviera. I got to watch the last couple hours with Don January, 93 years young, and he was telling me about that Kikuyu grass. And the ball will not release out of that Kikuyu grass. It hits in there and it's over.
Right.
And old Homa was over there in the right rough on 18, and Rahm's got a 2-stroke lead. And he said, "No, I'm going for it." He's going to hit a big hard slice with a 5 or 6 iron, and he hit that thing out of there under that tree.
Right.
With a lot of mojo behind it, and that ball didn't run 25 feet after it hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he almost chipped it in. But he's just a gamer. You're right. He's very fun to watch.
Well, which brings us to the U.S. Open, and it's at L.A. Country Club, and it's his backyard. And I mean, Homa at the U.S. Open wouldn't shock me at all.
And he's probably been playing it more than once the last couple of years.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. He's good for golf. He's very entertaining.
He is.
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah. Who else at Los Angeles? Tiger, that's his backyard.
Tiger has a good chance. It's again, like Dan said, it's going to depend on his health and the weather.
Yep. The weather should be good.
If we get 4 good majors, which is going to be hard to get 4 good majors, 4 good weathers, but if we do, he's got a chance.
Now the final major, I have to tell you, I'm going to toot my horn a little bit here, but I have played that golf course many times. My friend Howie Alexander, I think George Rowe and Tyler. Anyway, they used to have the Harold Hilton Invitational Amateur, and I qualified for match play every time, but I never won a match. The closest one I had, his dad had won the British Amateur. He was from Surrey, England, a suburb of London, but that's just. There's no trickery out there. That's just pure golf.
Yeah.
And I do like Tiger's chances there.
Spieth. I think Spieth wins the British Open this year.
Good call, Dan.
Or Open Championship, excuse me.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Rory.
There you go. Well, he won there before as well.
Yeah.
Anything I've forgotten to talk about, guys? Anything you'd like to say? We're down in the last couple of minutes here. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a show I've wanted to do for a while.
Well, I think it's fantastic. It's good having Dan.
Yes.
But we need to work. I'll talk some things with you about maybe some gambling issues, what we can work up. What are the 5 guys that can win it this year? All 4 of them. Do a deal like that.
You do it.
Well, I haven't told him, but his favorite player is John Patrick Daly, and they had the senior event out at Las Colinas last year. He was sitting in a cart by himself smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Wasn't anybody around him. I went up to him. I said, "John Patrick Daly, I'm John Patrick Wheeler." He liked to swallow that Marlboro. And he said, "Are you Irish?" I said, "Just a little bit." You won't meet a nicer man than John Daly.
Oh, he's coming. He's got his tournament April 24th in Weatherford. I forgot the course. But 9 a.m., John Daly, the John Daly Open or whatever he calls it.
In Weatherford, Texas?
In Weatherford, Texas.
I'll be there if I can.
You can. It's a
two-man.
Two-man, I guess it's a scramble. I don't know what it is, but it's $500 for a team of 2. Get on.
You already got your partner? Hey,
no. What are the dates?
April 24th. It's a Monday.
Ooh, that's a good day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Dan Daly, thank you so much for being on. We'll get you back on. George, you were phenomenal, man. You were phenomenal.
Thank you, Pat.
I love the song, and Save Muni, and good to have you back in the house.
Thank you, man.
Pat, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed it. George, always a pleasure. And anytime you get on a guest with your horns up, I'm in. So I love it, guys. Thank y'all very much. This was a lot of fun.
Golf is life. Thank you.
Golf is life.
And until next week, hit it where they mow. Talking golf in Texas.
They say that golf's the greatest game. I'm here to tell you so. Harvey Penick said to take that aim and just hit it where they mow. Yeah, hit it where they mow.